Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-aliy al-azim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. We continue our discussion about adab or courtesy. One aspect of discussion about adab which is very clearly highlighted in our hadith is the relation between adab and aql, courtesy and reason. We find few ideas here in our hadith. One is that these two supplement each other. If someone is good in reasoning and good in rational behavior, but is not observing good manners, this is not sufficient. Even if you are a rational person, you have to also observe manners. Otherwise, you appear as a person who is rude, who is offensive. This would destroy your relations. This would stop you functioning in society, in community. Also, if someone has good manners, he needs rationality and reason, because if you are not very rational, it's very difficult to have good manners. So aql leads to good manners and also needs good manners. It's like a tree that if it doesn't bear fruits, it's incomplete and cannot also reproduce. So now I mentioned few hadiths that mentions that these two supplement each other and also the fact that they need each other. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam in one hadith said, "Ni'ma qarinul aqli al-adabu." Ni'ma qarinul aqli al-adabu. Of course, if we connect it, we say Ni'ma qarinul aqli al-adab. What a good companion for aql is adab. Adab is a good friend, a good companion for aql. If you want to be successful, if you want to be loved by everyone, if you want people to aspire coming towards you, being with you, dealing with you, interacting with you, you should have aql and adab. In the first hadith that we had from Imam Sadiq, we mentioned 5 things and we had aql and adab there. In another hadith, Amir al-Mu'minin said, "Inna bidhabil uqul min al-hajati ila al-adab, kama yadhma'u dhar'u ila al-matar." In the same way that a farm needs rain, if you have the best soil, the best seeds, enough sunshine, but no rain, no water, it's not going to produce anything. Amir al-Mu'minin says, in the same way, those who have good reasoning and rational approach, without adab, they are not going to succeed. Like without rain, a farm cannot succeed. Aql needs adab to be able to bear fruits. Another hadith, كل شيء يحتاج إلى العقل. Amir al-Mu'minin says, everything needs aql. It means everything that you do, starting with very simple things. What I want to eat, how much I want to eat, you have to be rational. You cannot just eat because it's delicious. If you just eat because it's delicious, or you eat because, for example, it's very cheap. I eat from this shop or restaurant because it's very cheap. This is not rational, and then you can harm your health. What to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, needs aql. So simple. Drinking, dress, where do you want to live? Everything needs aql. What type of study, what type of career, what type of marriage, everything needs aql. So, كل شيء يحتاج إلى العقل. Everything needs aql. But والعقل يحتاج إلى الأدب. But aql itself, reason itself needs adab, needs politeness, courtesy, good manners. Otherwise, as I said, you can appear as a person who is rude, who is impolite, who is disrespectful, harsh, someone that you should keep distance from. Also, on the other hand, adab needs aql. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam says, لَن يَنْجَعَ الْأَدَبْ حَتَّى يُقَارِنَهُ الْعَقْلِ. Adab also would not be efficient unless there is aql. Otherwise, it becomes very superficial and shallow. If someone doesn't have deep understanding, and it's not understanding very delicate issues, and he just tries to be polite, it sometimes looks very ridiculous, actually. Because he doesn't understand, he just wants to pretend that he's very polite. And if you don't understand and you pretend to be polite, sometimes you can actually offend people. So for example, you may show too much of attention and someone says, do you think I am a child? Do you think I am a person who doesn't understand? You need to have aql, and at the service and with the guidance of aql, show courtesy. Otherwise, you don't understand the measures and you go to either this extreme or the other extreme. We have many hadiths about aql and adab. I just stop with this section with the hadiths that I mentioned. There are much more. I think it's enough. We go to another dimension of this discussion, and that is about the need for every person undertaking, acquiring adab, educating himself or herself, disciplining himself or herself. As we said yesterday, this is not something that comes automatically. This is not something that comes by birth. This is not something that comes by your nafs, by your own soul, automatically. You have to get it. You have to train yourself. For example, Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam said, تَوَلَّوْا مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ تَأْدِيبَهَا. You must undertake the responsibility of training yourself, giving good adab to yourself, educating and disciplining yourself. If you don't want to do this, no one can do it on your behalf. It's not that your father, your mother, your teacher Your leader, even imam who is infallible, can give you adab if you don't want, if you don't try. تَوَلَّوْا مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ تَأْدِيبَهَا. You must undertake this responsibility of educating yourself and giving yourself good manners. In another hadith, Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam said, which is very famous, وَمُعَلِّمُ نَفْسِهِ وَمُؤَدِّبُهَا أَحَقُّ بِالْإِجْلَالِ مِنْ مُعَلِّمِ النَّاسِ وَمُؤَدِّبِهِمْ. This is very famous hadith, and many times you may have heard this hadith when discussing about scholars, about teachers, and how much they should first look after their own morality and their own piety and their own etiquettes. We very much respect people who teach others. In Islam, we have very high regard for teachers. No doubt about it. In society, teachers are among the first and the top people that we should respect. But if we have a person who teaches others very good things, he teaches others akhlaq, morals, religion, everything he teaches is perfect. But he or she lacks these things. I teach others good akhlaq, but I don't have good akhlaq. And there is another person who does not feel confident or qualified to teach other people, is working on himself or herself and teaching himself or herself. Which one is more important? Which one is more loved? A person who has hundreds of students, or a person who is working on educating himself or herself? Which one is more important? Amirul Mu'minin says the second one is more important. The one who is educating and training himself or herself is trying to get good manners. Of course, if this person then also teaches other people, that would be excellent. If we have teachers who are equipped with good manners, good morals, and then they teach others, that would be that kind of teachers who come second to the rank after the prophets. Teachers come in rank after the prophets, if they are such teachers. Teachers who are themselves equipped with good manners and morals, and also teach other people. These are much, much more important and valuable than just worshippers who are very good, who dedicate their life to worshiping Allah, but they have not helped other people. They have not spread knowledge among people. So, مُعَلِّمُ نَفْسِهِ وَمُؤَدِّبُهَا, the one who teaches himself or herself and gives good manners, trains, disciplines himself or herself, أَحَقُّ بِالْإِجْلَالِ, deserves more respect and more honoring than مُعَلِّمِ النَّاسِ وَمُؤَدِّبِهِمْ, than the one who teaches people and educates people, which by comparison you realize means forgetting himself. Not the one who has these good manners and teaches other people. No. Either he's working on himself or he has forgotten himself and is just teaching others. We are talking about these two, not about the person who has both. In another hadith, Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam says, أفضل الأدب ما بدأت به نفسك. The best training, the best education is what you start first with yourself. Who has the top priority to be taught? Myself. Whose akhlaq and manners should be my first concern? Myself. Not that I forget myself and just try to be picky and find out problems with other people. A common problem that I think more than 90% of people, if not more, have, is that we can find in others problems that we do have ourselves. But when it comes to ourselves, we cannot see the problems. When it comes to others, we can easily see the same problem. Even maybe I have more, I cannot see, and people have less, I can see. This is a common problem. I sometimes mention this beautiful story from Masnavi, from Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi, Mawlavi, Rumi. This example is funny, but very true, and very worrying actually. He says, there were some people, 3 people, who had an appointment with the king. And their appointment was very short after prayer time. They didn't want to be late, but also they didn't want to delay their prayer. So they were at least good enough to make sure that they say the prayer on time. But because they were in rush, they were very worried. So what they did, they didn't make sure that it's actually the time of prayer. So they started praying, and then in the middle of their prayer, they saw Mu'adhin is just coming to masjid. And is going to start calling for prayer. Maybe Mu'adhin is today late. They don't know. Maybe he's on time. So they have now doubt. Did we start earlier or he is late? So one of these 3, while he was praying, started talking to Mu'adhin. Hasn't the time of Salat come? The second person said, why did you speak? You were supposed not to speak. Now you have made your salat void. Not thinking that I am repeating the same mistake. If he has spoken, which is mistake, why I am going to tell him that he has made this mistake and then repeating the same mistake? And then the other person said, I don't want to speak to you. So he thought he's very careful, but again he spoke to them. By saying, I don't want to speak, I don't want to repeat the same mistake, again he did the same mistake. So this shows how vulnerable we are when we notice problems in other people and we are triggered to criticize, to attack, to offend, not noticing the same problem or even bigger problem in myself. In the same way that if I see something, for example, I see a kind of some clay or some dirt is on someone's face, I can see. But maybe I have the same thing on my face, I cannot see. This is why we need to look for our own faults instead of looking for others' faults, because their faults, their problems naturally, easily come to our notice. So please don't go after problems of people or faults of people. You don't need to go after it. If there is something, it comes automatically to your attention. What you need to look for and go after is your own problem, because that is not coming to your attention. So Amirul Mu'minin says, أفضل الأدب ما بدأت به نفسك. The best type of disciplining, training, looking after your manners is to start with yourself. Another thing that we find in our hadith, and as I said, it is interesting that most of these hadiths are from Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam. It seems that no other Imam has spoken about adab as much as Amirul Mu'minin has spoken about adab. And perhaps the reason is because no other Imam had this opportunity of actually actioning and behaving like Imam in its political, social sense, because none of them had this extended power that Imam Ali had, of course, only for 5 years. So as a head of the state, as a ruler, as a leader, he was seeing how much there is need to emphasize on adab and how he wants to train his Shia to have good manners. So the next issue that we find is how we can achieve adab, which is a very wide discussion. First, you need to make efforts to struggle. In Arabic, we have a term which we use it in many different forms, many different derivatives, and that is kulfa. Kulfa, from which we have taklif, mukallaf. Kulfa means trouble, painstaking, kulfa. And taklif is called taklif because it puts some burden on the other side. So if I ask someone to do something, it means that he needs now to make some efforts to do what I asked. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as our master, as a lawmaker, He asks us to do something, He gives us some taklif. This obligation requires you to take some steps. And these are not necessarily very easy. It needs some efforts, some painstaking. Of course, when we start understanding and seeing the results and enjoying, then it will be no longer taklif. For example, prayer, salat, is a taklif. Every person who becomes mature, reaches the age of puberty, has to say salat, except women in some days in month. Otherwise, we have to say our salat. This is a taklif, 5 prayer every day. This taklif, to begin with, is difficult. It has kulfa. You need to take some pain. Early morning, middle of the day, wherever you are, in the night, in winter, in summer, you are traveling. This is called taklif. And you are mukallaf. You are the one who has been instructed and given a set of command. But Does salat remain always a matter of kulfa, a matter of making some efforts or undertaking some difficult task? No. Then a time comes that salat for you becomes the most enjoyable thing. You become thirsty for salat. You become hungry for salat. You miss salat. One of the very pious ulama used to say, I don't know what we are going to do if in Jannah we are not going to say salat. If we are not going to say salat, if we are not going to fast in Jannah, what we are going to do? So this is for a person who has reached understanding. So it's no longer taklif. But to begin with, it's taklif. Anyway, this root of kulfa in Arabic is used in different places. One of the things that we have from this root is takalluf. Taklif is different from takalluf. Taklif means someone is obligating you, someone is imposing an obligation on you. This is taklif. But takalluf is you yourself undertake a responsibility. You decide to do something by yourself. Takalluf sometimes can be negative. For example, if you have a guest and you want to show hospitality to your guest, to a certain level and measure, this is good. I have to make home ready, clean, nice food, nice drink, nice bed. But if it becomes luxurious, if it becomes too much, excessive, and I have to go and borrow money, and then after my guest goes for some weeks or some months, my family has to suffer because I have, accumulated lots of debts. This is called takalluf. This is you have undertaken something which was not necessary and you have put now yourself into difficulties. This is takalluf. This is not good. So, takalluf sometimes is negative, and that is when you undertake something that you are not supposed. It's good to have guests, but for example, if your house can only accommodate 10 people, and then you invite 20 guests, this is takalluf. You are putting too much pressure on yourself and family. And even in the end, you may not be showing enough attention to your guests because now you have undertaken something too much. But sometimes takalluf is used for moral struggle of a person. And here it's positive, in a positive sense. This is another sense. Any moral characteristic, any traits of character, or any good behavior that you lack and you want to achieve, this is also called takalluf. Means you need to make efforts, you need to struggle, you need to take pain and achieve it. If I am lazy or I am careless or I just pray and say, oh Allah, please give me good akhlaq and good adab, and I'm not doing anything, it's not going to happen. You need to put yourself into some work. You have to really work hard to get it. Now, you understood the meaning of takalluf. Listen to this hadith from Imam Raza alayhi salam. Al-aqlu hiba'un min Allah wal-adabu kulfah. Aql, reason and rationality is a gift from God. But adab, kulfa, is something that you have to achieve. To be intelligent, to be genius, to be bright, to be sharp is a gift. But adab is not a gift. Adab is kulfa. You have to get it. You have to work for it. The hadith has remaining that inshallah we discuss tomorrow. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.